Watch Dogs is one game that I look back on from time to time, whether it was the hacking, invading other players' lobbies, funny glitches, and beyond. This game has a lot to offer. Watch Dogs was released in 2014, published and developed by Ubisoft. The game went on to receive mixed reviews on launch. Since then, there have been a few sequels, Watch Dogs 2 and Legion, both of which were met with similar criticisms. I want to revisit this game to see how Watch Dogs holds up today, alongside going in depth regarding the gameplay, characters, story, and so on. Before we dive into the video, make sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to help support me in the channel. Now, let's get into it. Before we get into the gameplay, I should first talk about my history with this game for those who may not know or are unfamiliar with the channel. Before Watch Dogs released, and all the demo footage came out, I was really hyped. The look, tone, and NPCs that reacted better compared to the other games at the time. Since everything looked to be really awesome and complete, many people were super excited for this new IP, myself included. Then it released. I did have a lot of fun on the game, do enjoy it for what it's worth, it's just not what they advertised. A version much more bare bones and lackluster. There have been many games that I've been disappointed with. This was one of them. Everyone as they grow older has that one or two shows, movies, or games that they'll always remember for being extremely subpar. Watch Dogs is not the first game I've been disappointed in, but it's surely been stuck within my memory. In this video, I aim to go through this game, go through various sections, and explain things. Similar to the previous reviews, I like to lay out all the facts and sprinkle my takes in here or there. At the end, I discuss my thoughts on the series as a whole, so stay tuned for that. Initially, this video was going to be a pistols only challenge run, but as I went through the game, I started to think of how this game, while far from the best, was actually a good game.
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
Now, do I plan to only talk about the good? No, there are many terrible things about this game. There are also so many awesome and great things. Watch Dogs has many mechanics and gameplay features. In this section, I'll explain the basics, relaying what the player is supposed to do generally, alongside tools and devices that are usable. First and foremost is that Watch Dogs is an open world action game. Aiden Pierce is the main character of the story and who the player plays as. Various missions are given throughout the game. Similar to most games, there are main, side objectives, and multiplayer modes to engage with. I'll go a lot more in depth on these later. Hacking is the unique selling point of this game, whether it's hacking an NPC's phone to causing havoc on the streets. There are many ways to hijack the C2S network. Hacking can lead to good things such as protecting an individual before someone else attacks. On the flip side, Aiden is able to electronically steal people's wallets. You can be such a menace at times. Certain actions will cost battery that will have to be recharged. Basically, you can't spam those abilities. Saying there are a lot of hacking opportunities is a massive understatement. The player is able to purchase weapons, cars, and so on. As many missions rely on engaging in combat, having a reliable car and a plethora of weapons to choose from helps to better your chances. Actions in the game will have a slight impact on world events. What do you mean by that? Watch Dogs has a reputation system that, simply put, the more the player engages in evil acts, the higher the likelihood that an NPC will call the cops. There are multiple levels to it, each showcasing Aiden's relationship with the general public, police officers, and the news. The last thing I'll mention in this section is the collectibles. Like most Ubisoft games, there are an abundant amount of extras to collect. Whether it's going to a location and finding out the history behind it, or scanning QR codes, there's going to be a lot of work to get 100% completion rating. These are some of the many basic mechanics in Watch Dogs. I did leave out a few things. Most of the aforementioned things encompass what the player will do for the rest of their playthrough. Each of these I will go more in depth later, such as side missions, hacking, purchasing options, and so on. This was mostly meant for those who are new to the series or are in need of a refresher. With some of the basics mentioned, this is a good time to talk about the characters before we dive into the story/narrative. I think this order of topics is best as it helps me to write the script and hopefully makes things more clear to understand if you're a viewer. Watch Dogs has many characters, each with their own motivation and backstory. We'll be going through these characters, giving a brief summary about them, aiming to not spoil the story, but just simply introduce the characters. Make sure to grab some snacks and popcorn. Now let's dive into this. Aiden Pierce is the main protagonist of Watch Dogs, and whom the whole story revolves around. He's an expert hacker and fixer. His life really started to spin out of control after his niece's murder. Since then, everything has been aimed to avenge her needless death. Nicole is Aiden's sister and mother of the late Lena Pierce. She's been handling the loss of her daughter, comforting Jackson, her son, trying to get Aiden to be a family member again. Even though Aiden is distant, she's happy to have a loving and protective brother. Raymond is someone that worked for Bloom and was fired and blacklisted. Since then, he has remained off the grid. Eventually, he decided to help Aiden in his pursuit for justice. Maurice is the person that took Lena Pierce's life. Aiden months later would catch up to him, realizing that there is much more to the story. Maurice is a cruel and evil person, but not a mastermind. Lucky Quinn isn't your average mob boss, as they usually sit back and let the henchmen do the work. Lucky Quinn, even in his old age, still runs the show and is involved in everything. He's a key character within the game, as similar to Aiden, many things connect back to him. Rose is a more so background character throughout the story that acts as one of the many catalysts for the story. Working for Bloom, the company that created and integrated C2S systems, you met Raymond Kenny and a few other characters. After a while, she was fired and forced on the run. Bloom, the government, and many others were hunting for her. Her blowing the whistle on Bloom and what they were really doing set some of the game's events into motion. Clara is a member of DedSec and an informant to Aiden. There's many secrets that Aiden and Raymond do not know. Jordy is one character that I really enjoy whenever he is on screen. He's the comedic relief to this very dark and grueling world, which helps to alleviate some of the tension. He helps Aiden on jobs, but he mostly does the gruesome things that Aiden would rather not get involved in. Damien is one of Aiden's quote-unquote co-workers that he does missions and jobs with. He's a key figure within the MacLeod job. And we got all the various hacking type personalities such as Default, DedSec, Danny Sosumi, and so on. These really add to the atmosphere, making the player feel immersed in the world. I really enjoyed the interactions with DedSec. Seeing their various news reports and dealings with Aiden was awesome. These are some of the many characters that Aiden interacts with across his journey. Now, with some of their motivations and personalities explained, let's dive into the story. With characters and the basics of Watch Dogs explained, understanding the story will be a lot less daunting. There are many character threads that intersect with one another, and so the game's events impact a cascading number of people. I think for the story section, it would be best to group the act missions together, rather than individually explaining each mission. This way, the tone, premise, and characters' emotions can be said without the overabundance of information. When the player loads up the game, they will get this awesome series of events. From a low heist with Damien, Aiden tries acting casual, hacking into the system, while Damien steals the money. All of a sudden, something is triggered within the system, which forces Aiden to leave. An unknown character contracts a hit on Aiden, using Maurice as a hitman, saying that his days of hacking are done. Lena Pierce is unfortunately killed as a result of this, causing Aiden to seek some form of justice or revenge. This is when we are introduced to Aiden a bit more, alongside other people mentioned in the characters section. Aiden has become increasingly more paranoid since that day, and is always watching out for his sister and nephew. He meets up with Lucky Quinn, hoping to deliver a package, then agrees to meet with Bad Boy 17, someone that helped Aiden escape from the baseball stadium at the start of the game. This mysterious helper that works for DedSec has always remained anonymous, and so Aiden is very skeptical. And that's when he meets Clara. They discuss things for some time, and he starts to notice how useful it would be to have her by his side. From this point on, she joins Aiden on most of his missions. Evident by the timer, I am 4.5 hours into the game, and obviously for a video, I'm gonna have to cut out a lot of stuff. Otherwise, it'd be me blabbering for hours and hours. If you are interested, I would highly recommend heading over to the VOD channel to see all of this playthrough/challenge. Another mysterious person messages Aiden, taunting him to find out more. He eventually comes to the realization that Damien is back and out for revenge, since the two hadn't spoken since the MacLeod job. There's been like a 11-month gap. There's been anger brewing from Damien towards Aiden. Nicole sees the pain that Lena's death caused him. Then she notices that Aiden is trying to chase after the people that did this to them. While she is extremely sad to lose her daughter, she doesn't want to lose Aiden as well. Pleading with him, he ultimately does promise to stop searching, but knows that deep down he has to not give up. Basic gist of this first act is just to introduce the world of Watch Dogs, the events that lead up to the modern day, Lena's death, how that impacts everyone that knew her, alongside Aiden finding new allies and enemies. The second act starts with one crazy mission. Damien taunts Aiden, basically saying that unless he does what he wants, Nicole will get hurt. Jackson seems to have gotten away, but Aiden still wants to ensure both of them are alright. Because of that, he decides to play Damien's game. Aiden and Clara start to team up in person to investigate Damien, Bloom, and whoever might be responsible for the hit on Lena. Fortunately, as they are doing this, multiple enemies try to take them down. This whole situation makes Aiden question Clara's trust much more than before. With all of Aiden's hard drives and network access lost, he knows that he has to find something to help turn the tides. This is when he learns of the bunker, an area with unrestricted access to C2S servers, as supposedly it is where C2S and Bloom started. On a side note, this is when I found out that you can really exploit the reputation system. Basically, if people are trapped in cars nearby to gunfire, you'll need rescuing. Because of this, I did this numerous times to try and avoid the cops as much as possible in this playthrough, as I would rather deal with just the online hackers than both at the same time. The bunker access seemingly locked by an individual, Clara helps Aiden track that person down. Ultimately, we find Tobias, someone who helped create C2S. He says that power to the bunker is non-existent, and so it's practically useless to set up shop there. Aiden is very persistent, so eventually he gets the bridge controls. While there is the power issue, at least we can now reach the bunker. After some time, mostly because I was doing side missions and online events, Aiden goes back to the bunker to activate the power, which is a very tedious section of finding and activating 3 relays around the area. The whole theme of Act 2, in my opinion, is investigation. This is when Aiden is able to get further than before, as the bunker has unrestricted access that cannot be hacked into remotely. Clara finds out about Raymond Kenny, an underground legend, and thinks it's wise to ask for his assistance. Once Aiden is able to locate him, the two sit down for a chat. Then he forces us into a shot-for-shot battle. Thankfully, I had been doing the other mini games in between missions, otherwise I probably would have needed to restart a few times. Act 2 has many missions I won't be covering, such as Aiden blackmailing Bedbug. While they do impact the story, the basic gist boils down to Aiden finding out more about Damien alongside the hit on his family. With Aiden and his allies finally understanding who and what they are up against, this act aims to up the stakes. Betrayal, deceit, lies, and everything else will come to haunt Aiden as he claws his way through. While Aiden, Clara, and Raymond have lots of information at their fingertips, there are still many things that Bloom is trying to keep hidden, so they strike at them from different angles, even going inside their main headquarters. Aiden's enemies have been stocking up against him, so he feels it best to strike before they can fully prepare. This is when Aiden really finds out about who Lucky Quinn is and his role in the death of his niece. Clara is exposed to have been part of Lena's death. He had been investigating Aiden from the beginning. Aiden questions everything because of this. With Bloom becoming more aggressive, Lucky Quinn showcasing his hand, there's bound to be one more angle that is coming to strike at Aiden. Early enough is Damien, holding Nicole as leverage over him. Aiden spirals out of control since everything is attacking him on all fronts. At last, we reach Act 4, the conclusion of the story's events. Protecting Nicole and Jackson, defeating Lucky Quinn, finding Clara giving flowers to Lena, only to succumb to bullet wounds, fighting Damien, and choosing whether to forgive Maurice or give into revenge. Ultimately, Aiden has seen enough bloodshed, choosing not to take his life. His punishment is knowing what he's done. Last thing I'll mention that's really cool is that whenever side events the player completes, some of them will be included in the end credits. The story in Watch Dogs has many good and bad moments, but after a replay through, I enjoyed this a lot more than when I played years ago. There were countless strengths and weaknesses to the narrative. I think some strengths that the story had were the tone and atmosphere. Hacking in the dark atmosphere I enjoyed. The vigilante concept was awesome. It's cool that they had a reputation system, even though if it is slightly underutilized. C2S surveillance within Chicago is really interesting, especially as we are in the age of information and technology. This becomes more and more like real life. While I do enjoy Aiden as a concept, his character is really stupid sometimes or just as emotionless, leaving countless audio logs incriminating himself to his non-existent connection to many side characters. Pacing in Watch Dogs is all over the place, alongside the plot being very predictable. That was a campaign of all time. Early in the video, I discussed some of the many things that the player can do in Watch Dogs. That section was purely focusing on the basics. But now that we got the characters and story under our belts, let's dive into detail. There are many side missions that the player can interact with. There are 4 total. Lumped crimes into here since it fits, otherwise there would be 3. We got gang hideouts, criminal Criminal convoys, fixer contracts, and detecting crimes are some of the many optional objectives within the game. As the player goes through the game's story, more of these will be unlocked. Each has their own gimmick, so let's discuss them. Gang hideouts are what you would expect. There are gang members and a head honcho that needs to be taken down. These side objectives are straightforward, but man are they fun as shit. Criminal convoys has Aiden stop the targets before reaching their destination. I think out of all the side missions, I had the most fun with criminal convoys. Figuring out the best way to stop them, alongside usually a massive firefight, was just so awesome. Each of these are in various locations around the map, and they have different routes, so things are spiced up each time. I believe this series of missions ends with the Assassin's Creed reference. I'll put some of it in the background. Thinking about Assassin's Creed makes me want to play the original once again. Maybe a game I could do a fun challenge run on. Daggers only would be interesting, but I digress. Cool to see these little Easter eggs in games. There were 18 in total, so it did take a while to get through them all. Gang hideouts had 15 missions, criminal convoys was 18. Now guess how many fixer contracts there were? 40. I might expect me to say I disliked how many there were. Yes, there were a few times where I thought it was repetitive. I just really enjoyed the side objectives, more so than the campaign. Fixer contracts usually focus on intercepting, transporting, or acting as the decoy. This could be tailing someone or delivering a few different cars to various locations. There's just something about cruising through the city and the outskirts that made these missions super fun. Yeah, they are a bit repetitive as I mentioned, but I think overall it was a fun experience. Random crimes will occur throughout Chicago, the victim alongside a perpetrator. The player has to stay near the person of interest long enough for the scanner to confirm. If done correctly, the perpetrator is able to be taken down. Aiden will receive a positive reputation for these actions. On the flip side, if you preemptively attack, since the C2S systems didn't confirm if he was a quote-unquote bad guy, counts as taking down an innocent person. Thus, Aiden will receive negative reputation for these actions. I have to admit that these were really fun and interesting to go through, but after a while, I did just stop engaging with them because they would pop up so frequently. If Aiden doesn't interact with it, no reputation points will be lost. I have a dedicated section where I speak about the progression / skill tree. I should briefly talk about it now as it does connect with every aspect of the game. Let's use criminal convoys as an example. When Aiden completes X amount of these side missions, various things will be unlocked. In this case, we unlocked critical focus, basically Franklin's ability from GTA 5. Then afterwards, we unlock a high-powered sniper rifle, and finally an achievement. This is just one of the many branches that the player can progress in the game. Investigations are the next tier, I guess you could say, after side missions. These aren't as time heavy and are finished usually after a short while. Each of these have a special mission near the end. Missing persons and the human trafficking investigations are the most memorable because man were these messed up. People have gone missing in Chicago, or maybe a serial killer on the loose, leaving bodies and cryptic messages. I defined all the 6 missing persons throughout the city. Once found, I was able to take down that sick and twisted serial killer. That felt very satisfying to take that bastard down. Human trafficking was a bit different, but similarly memorable. We're tasked with investigating suspicious briefcase throughout the city. Reach and invade their apartments to find the tracking briefcases. Once all 10 briefcases are found, the player is able to shut down the trafficking ring. Weapons trade was the most boring out of these investigations I found. Several empty shipping crates have been left throughout the city. Each crate has tools plus a discarded audio log. These have to be hacked, require some sort of puzzle to be solved. Usually they take about 5 seconds, so yeah, not that difficult. Burner phones follow the story of Maurice, the person who did the hit on Aiden's family. It's discarded burner phones throughout the city, and so Aiden has to find all 8 phones to uncover audio logs from Maurice. It may shed light on his story. DedSec has plastered QR codes throughout the city landscape. Find a camera to align all sections of a QR code. Once aligned, scan the code and download a hidden audio log. Find all 16 codes to unlock a special mission. Because side missions and investigations have been explained, let's talk about the various collectibles, first of which are the city hotspots. Chicago has many landmarks that Aiden is able to interact with, learning more about that specific building, location, or art piece. The player is able to unlock various songs to hear throughout their playthrough. Some can be obtained through missions or side objectives, while others have to be found randomly in the world. I'll be talking more about this in the 100% section. Most of these songs are copyright enforced. I opted to not engage with listening to them. them, but I know back when the game first released, those Kid Cudi songs used to slap. Audio logs are really interesting. On one hand, it makes sense that some characters would make them, but no, not Aiden. Bro tries to be inconspicuous, then plants multiple self-incriminating audio logs around the map. Smart move, Aiden. I understand that they are trying to add more to the story without shoving it in the players' throats, but they could have thought of a better way. It just makes Aiden look very stupid. Digital trips were some of the more strange but fun modes to beat. Each was unique and provided some sort of challenge that Aiden had to overcome. Aliens to C2S robots roaming around the city. There are a few different mini-games that Aiden is able to compete in, multiple levels, each getting progressively more challenging. Chess was straightforward, but tough. Poker and shell games were very similar. But man, those drinking games were a whole nother beast. This is one mode I would recommend going through because it was a lot of fun and was extremely challenging, especially the final few levels. Lastly is the Cash Runs. Cash Run is a free parkour AR phone game. Beat the highest scores to get top on the leaderboards. This mode was fun, but once I complete all of them, I never really wanted to get back into it again. I think the multiplayer is one of the best features of Watch Dogs. Its tense atmosphere and how anyone can hack into your game at any time made things very fun. I never forget those early times in this game. I think the easiest way to understand this game's multiplayer is to provide an analogy. Multiplayer in this game is like the Dark Souls invasion system. One player is going about their business, driving through the open world in the case of Watch Dogs, or preparing to fight a boss as in Dark Souls, while the other invades their world. The catalyst for this is not being Hollow and Dark Souls, while in Watch Dogs is just by playing the game. There is a way to disable the multiplayer and invasions, but for the purpose of this video, as I'm going for 100% run, everything has to be unlocked. Now evidently there were far less invasions overall than when I first started playing years ago, but still they were a lot of fun. There are more than a few game types that players can engage with, so let's talk about them. Online hacking is probably what most players think when recalling Watch Dogs multiplayer, whether it's someone coming into your game to take your data, or the other way around. This was a fan favorite for many people. There's a rival fixer on the streets of Chicago who secured the information you need. Hack the fixer's phone, install a backdoor, steal the data, and escape before you're found. The stolen data is worthless if the fixer is harmed. There are a few things I discovered after going through this more than a few times. First is that if you are the target, using a jammer will disable the progression for some time. Gives you a bit more leeway to find the fixer. Second is that if you have the backdoor installed, the game doesn't immediately start the hack. The player is able to find a spot to bunker down beforehand. I found a few OP spots that I could go towards and hide. I used them multiple times. The only downside is that it's dependent on the adversary's position, so it can be unfortunate. Lastly, there were more than a few ways I would find out that I was getting hacked. I could hit the pause menu. If the game was frozen, I was still in single player. If it was still running, then I was getting invaded. The more obvious one was not acting like an NPC. Those people were very easy to identify. And then, if you still haven't figured it all out by then, and you actually go to a mission and you try and interact with it, it'll pop up with this hacking symbol, and it's so cool. After a while, the game will tell you that there is an enemy hacker, but it helps to know beforehand. Online tailing is next, and is meant to test the player's stealth skills. Try to spy on a rival fixer and monitor all activities. Don't get too close, and if you are profiled, the fixer may come for revenge. Profile the fixer, observe movements and actions, and escape without detection. Observations are worthless if the fixer is harmed. This was the multiplayer mode that I engaged with, I'd say the second most. Whether it was me selecting it or another fixer hacking into my game, these were really fun. Made you have to play extra careful and blend in just like a normal NPC. I think this is one of the many reasons that I've really enjoyed coming back to this game. Not many games have an invasion system like this, especially a shooter game, so it stayed within memory. It can be frustrating to get hacked back to back, it does help to break up the story and side missions. Online decryption was probably the multiplayer mode I engaged with the least, mostly because of how few people search for it. Each of the other game modes require only 2 people, so with 3 needed on a 10-plus-year-old game, not going to be super frequent. Talk more about this and the repercussions of the aforementioned things in the 100% section, so stay tuned for that. The goal of this mode is that a critical file has been lost in the city. Multiple fixers are competing to retrieve it. Download the file first by any means necessary, decrypt it, and reap the rewards. Racing is what you'd expect. There are 2 events, getting from point A to B, or circuit events. I did have some really fun lobbies that at times had like 5+ people. It was actually really crazy looking back on it. And the This game was bumping when I did this playthrough slash review. You know, as someone that has like come from the Burnout games when I was super young and Need for Speed and so on, and I always enjoy doing these racing side objectives and such. Even though I really disliked Unbound, Need for Speed Unbound, it was just really fun to hop back into a racing game and, you know, just play through one. Need to go through Forza Horizon 6 at some point. Online free roam is what you'd expect. Experience a city full of fixers as they're all looking out for themselves. Fight friends, explore Chicago, hunt down enemy fixers, and take no prisoners. Basically a public server for you and your friends to have fun on. I mentioned hacking in the basics section, saying that there were a lot of ways that the player can engage with things around the city. A lot is an understatement. First and foremost is that Aiden has access to something called a profiler, reveals valuable information, rewards, activities on civilians and enemies. Bank accounts can be seen, some of which can be stolen from. Cameras, traffic lights, grenades on enemies' belts, and so on can be hacked. There are some items that Aiden can craft that have a bigger impact, thus need to be somewhat restricted. Blackouts will trigger a massive blackout, as expected. At night, enemies will lose sight of Aiden faster and have limited visibility. Blackouts will temporarily disable all power. CTOS scans, jam comms, lures are some of the many craftable items that Aiden can use while hacking. Now, I could go into super duper detail with this section, but I think you get the point. It's not really necessary for me to go overkill with every item and an interaction that you can do. Though I will say, if you are really interested, watching all the background footage will showcase a good sample of what the player can do. Similar to the hacking section, I mentioned the reputation system earlier on, but now it's a good time to dive into detail. Hurting innocents damages reputation, helping innocents on the flip side improves reputation. Reputation affects news broadcast frequency, alongside deterring witnesses from calling the police. Politicians and police officials will also react based on the player's ranking. This playthrough, I decided to be more of a good guy compared to just mowing down innocents and police. I know in my first playthrough, I was a bit of a menace, going towards the other side. At the highest tier, aka Vigilante, citizens are extremely less likely to report us and will show up far less frequently on social media reports. The final thing I'll speak about in this detailed gameplay section is the skill and progression trees. As the player goes through the game, they unlock various skill points that they can use in the skill tree. The tree is broken up into hacking, driving, combat, and craftable items. Most of these are very important in a playthrough. Locking blackouts, disabling helicopters, improved off-road handling are some of the many reasons why these are integral for success. Then we get to the progression tree. This is unlocked by playing and completing more and more of the game. Some examples would be that the player unlocks a Tommy gun by completing QR codes, while completing all poker challenges will yield a sweet-ass bike. These were many of the game's mechanics explained in detail. Yes, there were some things that I did not mention, as it would be excessive or is just, self-explanatory. If you are interested in seeing this game or me playing it, head over to the Voz channel. Here I post the streams and highlights from them over there. And awesome to see people enjoying both channels. Thank you guys for the awesome support. It's been very motivating these past years. Cannot thank you guys enough. I'm eternally grateful. Oh gosh, the various bugs and glitches in Watch Dogs were brutal, funny, and actually game breaking. One thing I will say is that I have a few clips from when I first played Watch Dogs years ago, aka when the game first released, so I'll add that in. That was one thing I was really thankful that I brought over to my PC or Xbox implemented, that where it just deletes your clips. So yeah, I have some awesome clips though. Now let's roll the montage.
Damn, I owe you one.
setting schools, clinics, stores that shoot on sight? That's subsidized housing. I mean, those people got priced out of San Francisco. Where the fuck else are they supposed to go?
You hold on to that anger, Marcus. We're gonna need it when we go after Blue.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
You're right. This is systemic injustice at its highest level.
You found it, Josh.
Well, Ray helped me bypass the firewall. I couldn't
No,
access
this is
them.
all yours, kid.
Yeah, those were just some of the many bugs and glitches I found throughout the run. Now, originally this video was going to be a pistols only type challenge run. I started this challenge on the Republic Commando game. I've gone through different games seeing how that weapon type fares. Sniper Elite 3 and MW2 were really interesting to say the least. I highly recommend checking those videos after watching this. I did realize that I wanted to do a review more so than a challenge on this. I still really wanted to see if pistols only were possible, alongside how difficult it would be. Put the game on the hardest difficulty alongside just using pistols. That's one of the many reasons I died so much in this playthrough. There were a few pistols that were just insanely OP. The player is able to pick up pretty much every weapon off of enemies. Because that, about half of the total pistols I just didn't need to buy. Those machine pistols were really solid, though they did have some high recoil. I'd say for about at least 90% of the game, pistols only were possible. Then there were times where I was forced to take down an enemy from far range or using hacks. I had a lot of fun going through this challenge. I think in the future I want to come back to this game again. Maybe I'll have to try another one. Maybe no deaths or something else crazy. Now let's answer the important question. Is it worth playing Watch Dogs in 2026 and beyond? I would say yes, it is worth your time. Whether it was because the game was on sale or if you wanted to just have fun in an open world action game, you will have a lot of fun. Sure, there are numerous things that make the game suffer in quality. There are plenty of good or funny moments that make up for all of that. The story is lackluster. The gameplay is the best part of playing. The online interactions, robust side missions, and mini games made for a fun playthrough. If you are looking for a great story, this game isn't for you. It is decent, but its pacing and tone shift throughout the game, making it memorable for the wrong reasons. I still enjoy playing Watch Dogs and its beginning parts of the story, but man did they rush everything at the end. I think another thing that's super worth about playing this game is just the awesome aesthetics and the game's appearance, which has been evident throughout the video. Last thing I'll talk about here is that because this is an Ubisoft game, if you are completionists, you will be seething with rage seeing all the collectibles. Brings me to the next and final topic. One thing that I started doing during my Jedi Survivor review was that I should complete 100% of the game. Why complete all of the game and everything? Well, I think it provides a much clearer and more shaped answer than if I did not. I'll showcase one example. In Jedi Survivor, similar to Watch Dogs, there are numerous collectibles and things needed to reach 100%, seeds being a strangely important mechanic in the game. As a result, I had to travel to 6 different planets, collecting over 200 plus seeds. The grand scheme of the game, this one tiny thing made things extremely tedious. That is why I recommended to avoid a 100% run in that game. Another would be Expedition 33. I didn't realize how precise the player needed to be for the music discs, journals, Simon, XP farming, and so on, then I would have had a completely different take on the game. Basically, it just helps me to get a better view on the game as a whole. In between the main missions, I would often go around completing the various side missions such as gang hideouts, criminal convoys, and fixer contracts. It wasn't until much later in the playthrough that I started going for the various investigations, mini-games, and multiplayer requirements. The first thing was understanding what in-game things need to be completed alongside the various achievements. As they aren't always one-to-one, it's nice to get some knowledge beforehand. Over 90% of the game is tedious, but is able to be completed. The things I had the most trouble with was getting tailed by someone alongside online decryption. There is an achievement for getting tailed 5 times. Across this playthrough, in my many hours years ago on this game, I only got tailed 2 times. I understand it's not that as interesting as hacking, and that really puts things into perspective for me. Then there were the online decryption matches. These required 3 people compared to every other game mode requiring 2, so the matchmaking times were much longer. That's on top of the mode seemingly not being as popular. Because of that, I end up winning only 1 time out of maybe 3 matches. Across this playthrough, I can count at least 5 separate times when I tried searching for this. I'm trying to really reinforce the idea that certain areas of this game, as it is years old, would take numerous hours. The previous points were just on the multiplayer side. This is when my dear friend Anti-RNG came close by, because man, was my luck not on my side today. Most things in the game are at one specific location, but certain songs will need to be randomly collected around the map. I ended up trying to get the last song I needed for about an hour with no luck. It's when I took a deep look at myself in the reflection of the TV screen thinking, what the f am I doing? So yeah, instead of possibly spending another 30 plus hours trying to find decryption matches, getting tailed, and doing slot machines for a song, decided to end things right then and there. That's not even mentioning that I would have needed to play the DLC to get even more achievements. Maybe in the future I would come back to this game, but getting a 100% run is basically impossible alone and in the current state of the game. Because of this, I would not recommend a 100% run, but if you do, I would, have some friends that own the game, definitely hold a better chance. But still, it is quite tedious. All of my friends aren't the biggest Watchdog fans, so yeah, that was just out of the question for me. The section may seem like complaining, it's really just critiquing, as this is the brutal truth of the game's state, and if someone wanted to 100% the game, I still would highly recommend trying the game. Just avoid 100%ing it. Watch Dogs has been memorable for me, whether it was the awesome trailer, which led to me thinking the game was going to be amazing, or the fun and interesting side missions that has stuck with me for many years. While my old self was a bit more critical of the game, going back and playing the game has made me appreciate some of the many underrated mechanics, cool gameplay moments, and impactful story beats. Because of this, I've come to enjoy the game a lot more than before, but still understand its many weaknesses. Most people, I think, would say this game is worthless, but I'd argue that this is light years ahead of some games released today. Concord, that first supposed quadruple A power game, and so on. After going through this game, challenge, and review, I'm going to go back and beat Legion. I started it when it first released, but just couldn't get into it like the first game. I don't plan to make a review on that game. I'm really interested to see what I missed out on. Check that out on Twitch and the Voz channel if you are interested. Let me know your thoughts on Watch Dogs and its sequels in the comments below. Did you enjoy it? Think it was lackluster? Or the worst possible game? I'd be interested to see your replies. One thing that I want to see is whether you guys enjoyed shorts daily on the channel. I've been thinking about it. I want to move the daily shorts to the Voz channel and post a highlight short once a week on here. But I'll post a poll and I'll let you guys, I'll see what you guys want. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. This greatly helps to support me and the channel, alongside pushing the video to others who may be interested. Try to do something kind for someone today, whether it's a small or large gesture. This is your boy Skilled Fawn, and I'm out.